Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs here on Golf Channel. You can also listen on PGA Tour Radio. That is Channel 92 on Sirius XM. It is a Wednesday morning. I am Gary Williams, and this program brought to you by Century Insurance. We're so proud to be aligned with them because of what they do in the game of golf, their relationships with people like the First Tee, not to mention the United States Golf Association, and of course their sponsorship of that first event of the calendar year on the PGA Tour. Golf Pride. I was gripping my Golf Pride grips yesterday playing golf. When it comes to grips, whether it be putter grips, whether it be grips that you use throughout your bag, there is no company trusted more by more players around the world than Golf Pride. Of course, Peter Millar, everything that I'm wearing, including this little soft coat right here, the sports shirt, everything is Peter Millar, proving that whatever you need, they have you covered because they've been refining performance, luxury, and style for the better part of 2 decades. And of course, Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf, about 2 hours and 15 minutes east of here in Charlotte, North Carolina, is the cradle of American golf. The cottages on number 8, you can book them now. That new clubhouse and restaurant at number 10 is going to be available this summer. Always a good time to be at Pinehurst. I actually played a little golf yesterday. If you were listening on Sirius XM right before we came on the air, Taylor Zarza in the starter. I played yesterday with he and his brother. His brother is quite the interesting study. He does not look at the hole when he's putting for putts that are 15 feet or in, not 5 feet, 15 feet. Not only does he not look, he doesn't look for like 4 or 5 seconds. Like he doesn't like look down and then look away right at the last second. I've never watched anything like it. Here's the thing, it's effective. He is a very interesting study. It was great to be out there with them and Eric Williamson at Charlotte Country Club. And let me just say, I will play golf at any hours of the day, but there's nothing like a late spring day. It was breezy. Shadows were getting longer late in the day. As Bob Jones said, golf was intended to be played in the afternoon hours. It was a glorious Tuesday afternoon. I know it's Pro-Am Day for all these professional tournaments. We're going to talk a little bit about the Truist Championship. We got our picks coming up a little bit later on. We'll update the standings as well. But we're going to start with a dinner that was had last night because this dinner is reflective of the enormity of something that is one of the great sports spectacles that we have, and it just happens to be a golf competition. And it also is going to lead me to what you've heard me say already declaratively in terms of the guy who's captaining the team, who's a very fine player, who you could argue is among the 12 best American players, and that is Keegan Bradley. He hosted a dinner last night in Philadelphia. The #1 player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, was not in attendance. And if people want to say, well, here we go again, there's not total solidarity on the part of the United States team, I don't buy that. I think that there are things that we have seen through time where you can say that that's a little cracked, that's a little reflection of maybe not as much unity as we see traditionally from the European team. Come on, Scottie Scheffler just won a golf tournament. He is going to be in Charlotte. I don't know if Scottie maybe didn't even a little bit of recon. He might be getting to Charlotte this coming weekend to begin his preparation because he hasn't played Quail Hollow in a stroke play competition in his career. Yes, he was on the President's Cup team a couple of years ago. But this dinner last night was all the guys that, with respect to the standings, are right around in the top 20, but it also included some players who are not members of the PGA Tour, and obviously they don't need to be. The PGA of America somewhat amended the criteria, which allowed LIV players to not only be candidates to be on that American team, but obviously they are eligible, and we have seen Brooks Koepka represent the United States team while not being a regular member of the PGA Tour on a week-to-week basis. Brooks Koepka currently sits 91st in the Ryder Cup standings. And a lot of that is a byproduct, the fact that he's not getting any points on a week-to-week basis for LIV. He's only getting them, and he's got to get his haul of points in major championships, and he missed the cut at the Masters. He's got 2 top 10s on LIV, and I don't know how Keegan Bradley and his staff, not to mention kind of the data part of the wing of that captaincy, their brain trust are kind of looking at the results of LIV. I don't think it matters that much. Look, if he won a couple of events, would that kind of buoy his chances? Yes, he's Brooks Koepka. He's a 5-time major winner. but more importantly, he's got a vibe with the guys that you assume are going to represent that team. And here is where I'm going with all of this right now in terms of the dinner and what it is that Keegan Bradley is trying to do, what he's trying to create. And he said it yesterday. Todd Lewis did an extensive report on the fact that the dinner was going to be had last night, who was going to be there, and the fact that, yes, Brooks was going to be there, DeChambeau was going to be there. And I think Bryson, a couple of years ago, maybe the vibe wasn't going to be as much of a warm sense of welcoming for whatever reasons. I don't profess to know. I don't know what it is in terms of his relationships with those guys. I think it's fine. Bryson DeChambeau is going to be on the United States Ryder Cup team. And I think that depending on the back half of that roster for Keegan Bradley, depending on what Brooks Koepka can do starting next week at Quail Hollow and then on to the U.S. Open at Oakmont and then finally at Portrush, where he played well in the year of 2019 when it was Shane Lowry who won the Open Championship, I would lean that he too is going to be on the team. Because what Keegan Bradley needs, more so than, yes, form is important, but the format itself lends itself to get beyond the data points that you think are important as it relates to aggregate totals and stroke play performance and all those things. And I'm not going to belabor something that I think should be in place for whether it be the European team or the American Ryder Cup team, and that is let them pick their teams. I don't know that I would necessarily give all 12 picks. It's his team. This is not as it was constructed when it was founded back in the mid to late 20s, over 100 years ago, as an exhibition. I know there's some people that still want to hold on to the idea that this is an exhibition of golf. No, it isn't. It's not an exhibition. It is an intense, as much of a confrontational competition as golf could ever give the sporting world. It's been proven out. These guys comport themselves in ways that you've never seen them act before. David Duval in 1999 wasn't playing in any exhibition when his shirt was untucked and he closed out his singles match, and he was doing that very weird kind of, it almost looked like he was possibly auditioning for a part in Remember the Titans. Remember how they came out before the game and they had that music playing? He wasn't doing that, but he was doing this. It was very awkward, it was very funny, and it was very much out of character because the event itself is out of character for anything that these guys do. So it currently is that the top 6 are automatically chosen, and I think that if you had any type of criteria that was more limiting in terms of automatic qualifying, let's say it was 4 and you gave the captain 8 picks, we still know that he would probably go to 5 and 6 easily. He probably is going to lean going to 7 and 8 because you're going, how could you leave him off? See, I don't believe anybody, based on what the current setup of who is automatically eligible and automatically qualifies and then the balance of the team, I don't think anybody is snubbed from 7 to wherever that number goes. You know what it is that you need to do to be in the top 6. And if you are, you're going to be on the team. And then after that, it is at the discretion. And to me, it should be at the sole discretion of the captain. The PGA of America and on the European side, the DP World Tour made the choice to make Luke Donald the captain there. And the United States, the PGA of America, chose Keegan Bradley. You've given him this responsibility. It's his team. So whether it be because of relationships, and I know last time around, everyone said, what are we doing here? All we're doing is just looking at this buddy-buddy system, and if you're in the secret society and you know the handshake, that you're going to get a spot on the team. It's his team, and what I will not do in the immediate lead-in to this competition is jump up and down and scream bloody murder that this guy should be on and this guy shouldn't. I may say that I would have leaned in this direction, but in the end, it's his choice, whoever those last 6 are. And this is where it gets to what I think is the most important aspect of Keegan Bradley's decision-making. Who can handle this? because as much as you can say, well, this is easier than it would be over in Europe, and yes, it's proven out that it has been downright impossible for the United States for over 3 decades to go over there and figure out a way to scratch out a W. So I can't say that it's going to be harder for them to hold serve on home soil than it would be for wherever it is that they have been to recently or going to next, which will be Adair Manor in Ireland 2027. But what I will tell you is this, that the external pressure that the United States team is going to feel to answer to what Europe did to them the last time around in Rome, which was take them out back and give them a beating in a way that you're going, wow, that was humbling. Now, the United States did the same thing to Europe the time before at Whistling Straits. So it's not like Europe hasn't come over here and taken one themselves, taken out back. And you know, when Dad took off the belt back in the good old days, and then he would snap it, and you're going, oh my gosh, that's what it's going to feel on my hide here in just a moment. The United States has done that to Europe as well. But here's something that Europe has done to the United States 3 times since the last time the United States managed to go to Europe and win, and that is win here. They did it in 1995. That was 2 years after the United States won for the last time over there. Then they did it again in 2004, and they did it in a way that, well, that was embarrassing in Oakland Hills. That was the Phil Tiger experiment that went just afoul. And when I say foul, when Phil hit the foul ball on 18th tee at Oakland Hills, and NBC expertly had that camera trained on Tiger, and he gave that quizzical look like, is that over the fence? Yes, it was. That was a blowout. And then, epically, in 2012 at Medina, when they were down 6, actually down 10-4 late on a Saturday, and came back and won that one as well. See, they've got 3 road wins since the last time the United States won at all in Europe. So these 12 guys better know that if it gets quiet quickly at Bethpage, the pressure on them to figure out a way to get back in the match is going to be really, really tantamount. And here is the other part about Europe. They're not bringing guys with modest experience. They're bringing guys with a lot of experience in doing a couple of things. 1, beating the United States, and 2, winning golf tournaments in this country. There's never been a time, as we sit here at the beginning of May, where more guys that we assume will be on that European team are winning golf tournaments. And it used to be, well, we always had the 2 best players in the world, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work with Phil and Tiger. It didn't when they played together. It didn't work at all when they were just simply in the same team room. So we had the 2 best players, and I say we because I'm an American, but I try to sit here and just look at it and go, well, this is great. Tiger Woods, in his time being on the United States Ryder Cup team, they could never figure out who could handle playing with him. He had 14 different partners in his career in the Ryder Cup. 14! And he missed a couple because of injury. There were 3 different Ryder Cups where he played with 3 different partners because they just couldn't figure out who could vibe with him. They tried Furyk for essentially a whole Ryder Cup. They tried Stricker for almost like a cup and a half, and it didn't work. And obviously, he's not going to be on the team. The pressure on the U.S. to hold serve is off the charts. And that is why Keegan Bradley trying to figure out who can get along, because when we get in that room, the heat, if you think the heat on Europe because of the noise that they're going to hear is going to be off the charts, it will be. But again, if they lose this one, when Rory laid down the marker 2 years ago and said we're going there to win, and if he punctuates his career, his season this year, which included completing the career Grand Slam, winning the Players, and who knows what else, it will be the greatest cherry on top of the greatest cake that he has ever built, a performance in 1 year that I don't know. He could walk away. He could do a Suzanne Pedersen. He's not going to. That dinner last night was the first of what will be several for a team that is going to go down one way or the other as being a historic group of men. And who it's going to be. And one omission, the guy who was not there, who's actually 1 spot behind Keegan Bradley in the standings. Keegan is 22nd. The guy behind him is 23rd. Meanwhile, Koepka's 91st, and he was at the dinner, is Patrick Reed. Patrick ain't going to be on that team, because if the team is about chemistry, there's a reason why he wasn't there last night, and there's a damn good reason why he's never going to be inside that team room. All right, let's transition. It's a Wednesday morning. I know it's the middle of the week. You're going, what are they doing? Open up a club, because that's what we do. This is the end of our week. Why not open it up? Club 5. And I'm just going to remind you that in 2 weeks, we're going to reveal something that you're going to understand why it's so important to be in this club. All right, let's start with number 5. This is our kind of our heat index. And I'm going with Andrew Novak. Look at the FedEx Cup standings. Look at the Ryder Cup standings. The fact that he just got his first win, and I know it's a team competition, I don't care. The guy was in a playoff the week before that. He's got another second-place finish. He is having a breakout year, and there are not 5 players on the PGA Tour playing better than he is. Number 4, I mentioned Bryson because he was at the dinner last night. He won again on LIV, his 3rd win on LIV in his career. He also is somebody who will be a betting favorite next week and should be at Quail Hollow. He played exceptionally well at Augusta National. He is as good as anybody in the majors over the last year and a half, and he's got that U.S. Open win to boot. And I know that was a while ago, but he just got another win. He's number 4. Number 3, Justin Thomas. He's got a win. He's got 2 seconds. The Amex, the Valspar. And here's the thing about the top 3. His putting stats last year, he was outside the top 170. He is now 20th. He has figured it out. He's found confidence and calm when he gets on the greens and he's making putts, as evidenced by where he sits in the FedEx Cup standings and by what he's doing. And he just got that win. Number 2, he just got his win. First one of the year at the CJ Cup. He shot 31 under par. And that, of course, is Scottie Scheffler. How about his putting stats? He is 25th. This year. Look at what his putting stats were the year before when he won 7 times in the gold medal. If he continues to do that with his ball striking, which is number 1 in approach, he's going to start winning a lot, which we're accustomed to. And then number 1, look, he has been the best player in the world this year. Masters players, won at Pebble Beach. And he too. How about his strokes gained putting? Are you kidding me? He's 9th. I mean, that is a fantastic putting season, not to mention he's number 1 strokes gained off the tee. So he starts better than anybody from the teeing ground. He's in the top 10 where you finish each hole. That is why he's been the best player in the world so far this season. That is Club 5. And again, I'm just going to remind you, 2 weeks from today, you're going to see something and you're going, how do I get one of those? Because that would get me in any club in America. All right, we're going to take a break. When we continue, I invoke his name and use his information liberally because nobody's better than Justin Ray at giving you context, historical data, up-to-date information on things going on in all of professional golf. That's why he's employed by really everybody who conducts golf tournaments and championships in the game of golf. We're going to dig in with him, and also a little bit later on, the president of the PGA of America, Don Ray, is going to join me. A couple of Rays on a Wednesday. It is 5 Clubs, it is Golf Channel, it is Sirius XM, Channel 92 on PGA Tour Radio. We are back with you right after this. Back in on this Wednesday, it is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. You can also listen. It is Channel 92 on Sirius XM. Of course, that is PGA Tour Radio, and this segment is brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. Pinehurst number 10 was voted the best new golf course in America in 2024. Pinehurst number 11, construction starts this fall on that, plus the new cottages at number 8. Always a great time. If you're trying to do something, whether it's couples, whether it's buddies, Pinehurst will always be one of the best choices you can make for a golf experience anywhere in the world. All right, joining me now, I remember when he was hired at Golf Channel, and there were some other people who had formerly worked with him, and I said, this guy's good, right? They're like, you won't believe it. And I couldn't believe it, and I still kind of don't. I think he's one of the most important figures that covers golf because of his ability to give people context on almost anything that transpires. I'm not kidding. He is the head of content for the 21st Group. He also is employed by everybody when it comes to, hey, we need your help when it comes to the metrics, the stats, the data. So much so that the Solheim Cup employed him. They won. He said, if you win, I will show you my loyalty to you and I'll get a tat and he did just that. I'm speaking of Justin Rea. He joins me now. My friend, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Thank you for all the kind words, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, you've earned them. The tat is on the left, kind of bottom of, okay, tricep, bicep.
The entire left upper arm. I'm not wearing a shirt that's conducive to showing it off right now, and it's probably for the best because it's in a healing stage right now. It was a pretty intense process. It's about 10 hours in the tattoo chair. So
wow.
If you're ever considering getting something elaborate like that, day two is much harder than day one. It's basically like getting needles poked into a bruise over and over again. So,
but as you said,
I was devoted to the cause, and the artist was brilliant. And it's something it's very important to me, obviously, and be able to carry that memory with me for the rest of my days.
I've always known you to be a great team player, and that's reflective of it. You love being immersed in it with Stacy and her team, and that will always be, you didn't need it to hold on to the memories, but that's a cool thing. All right, let's speak about, we're one major in, and as people start to look at, who's good at these things, and I was mentioning about Scheffler and obviously Rory and Bryson, they've been very good since the beginning of last year. Obviously, you can add Schauffele with the 2 majors. Who are, over the last 8 majors, if you look at the stats that kind of pop out that you rely on, who have been quantitatively the best players in the last 2 years in major championships?
Yeah, well, your eyes don't lie to you. I mean, the names you rattled off, unsurprisingly, over the last 8 major championships, those are the 4 best players in the majors in terms of strokes gained total. Xander Schauffele's first. Scotty Scheffler is right behind him. Schauffele in the last 8 majors is actually 40 under par. Scotty's 39 under, so he's just 1 shot behind. And then the next 2 names on that strokes gained total list are Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau. Schauffele, Scheffler, and McIlroy, the only 3 qualified players in that span with scoring averages under 70. If you look at 2023, Scotty gained nearly 43 strokes on the field with his ball striking alone. That was by far the most of any player. On the flip side, Xander Schauffele was a little more balanced in his excellence last year. He led all players with 37 strokes ball striking in the majors in 2024, but he also ranked 8th in strokes gained putting, gaining double digits on the field on the green. So a little bit more of a balanced attack from Xander, whereas, as we all know, Scotty gains his advantages off the tee and with his unbelievable approach play.
The Scheffler thing, he's winning a lot of golf tournaments, and then he adds another one, and he gets so deep as far as under par. I know a lot of the things that you were, kind of taking people through late on Sunday was, his ability to set a new mark in terms of lowest total. If you look at the last couple of years, of which there's been so many gaudy numbers that he has been responsible for, what are the ones that stand out to you? The ones you like, the ones that you think are most profound in terms of emphatically stating how great he's been?
So I think this statistic is my favorite because it's always hard to try to quantify a player who, when you watch him, it's just so rare that he makes a mistake. So if you look at par 4s and par 5s on the PGA Tour, players make bogey or worse after they hit the fairway on those holes about a little less than 10% of the time. It's about 9.5% of the time. Scotty does it half as often, only 5% of the time. Wow. After he hits the fairway does he go on to make bogey on par 4s and 5s. That is the lowest rate of any player on tour in that span by far. Second lowest is Bob McIntyre at a little over 6%. There's about 80 qualified players in that span who do it twice as often or more than Scotty does. So that's probably my favorite way to try to quantify the way that Scotty Scheffler just never puts himself in bad spots. He doesn't seem to get out of position too badly. I love talking about Scotty's approach play because I think it's something that's difficult to quantify how great he is and how much better he's been over the last few years than anybody else. So players on the PGA Tour gain 3 or more strokes with their approach playing around less than 3% of the time. That is an excellent number if you put up 3 strokes gained approach in a single round. Scotty does that more than 3 times as often as the tour average, about 10% of his rounds over the last 3 seasons. So that's just a way to put into context, his ability to be just so much better than the field with his approach play and how frequently he does it. And then I think, I don't know if we give Scotty enough credit for just how amazing he's been at the Masters in his brief career so far. Only 6 starts, never outside the top 20. Solo 4th this year basically felt like a disappointment,
yes,
which is incredible to think about. Scotty is the all-time leader at the Masters in scoring average among players with at least 20 rounds. And I know the immediate reply to that might be, all right, the scoring's just better all around during this era, better agronomy, better equipment. In total, the numbers are better. He's also first in strokes gained total per round, which is the differential versus the field at 2.69 strokes. Second all time at the Masters is Ben Hogan at about 2.5.
Wow. All right, let's get specific about next week. If you looked at the last 4 editions, and I'm not taking Harding Park out for any reason. I'm just last 4, starting in 21. It's interesting because the mix from the low country of South Carolina to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to upstate New York, down there to Louisville, Kentucky. You mentioned agronomics. I mean, you different grasses, all different parts of the country. Who have been the best players in the last 4 editions of the PGA, and how have you separated them?
So I think first I want to say that when you break out the majors by, Masters, U.S. Open, this is the most variant of the 4 majors. We all know Augusta National is the only place we go back to every year for a major. The U.S. Open prides itself, obviously, on the difficulty of the test. The Open always has the elements, the draw. Nature is always a big factor. You mentioned the different locations for the PGA. The last 3 winning scores have been 5 under, 9 under, and 21 under. So you can really get a huge, wide array of different kinds of outcomes and scoring conditions. But there are some consistently strong performers in the PGA. Bryson DeChambeau leads all players in strokes gained total per round at the PGA since 2021. He's got the best cumulative score to par at 20 under in that span, despite missing one of the PGA championships in that stretch. He's consistently gaining strokes tee to green. 11 of his last 12 rounds at the PGA have been positive in that category. Leads all players in strokes gained off the tee at the PGA since 2021 as well. The man who's second in that span in scoring average at the PGA is Victor Hovland. He's third in strokes gained approach per round at the PGA in that stretch. Hovland, incidentally, if you include 2025, I think that he's a little bit underrated in terms of some of his ball striking abilities. But if you include 2025, he's the only player on the PGA Tour who's ranked in the top 20 in strokes gained approach each of the last 6 seasons. Can he hit enough greens tight approach shots to offset those short game issues? That's kind of the question you always have with Victor. And I want to talk about someone who's kind of unheralded, but has been a big factor, obviously, in the narrative of golf so far this year. The best putter by strokes gained at the PGA the last 4 years is Justin Rose, and it's not particularly close. So
wow.
That's an interesting name to keep in mind. I mean, we talked about the great narrative, obviously, Rory completing the Grand Slam, but how about Justin Rose backing up that unbelievable Masters with his second major at age 44, 12 years after he won at Marion? That would be something special, too.
And no, that I would have never thought that, although, I thought the window had closed on him in terms of him contending in majors, let alone representing Europe in the Ryder Cup. He poured in a ton of putts in Rome. How about Quail Hollow? Because the 2017 PGA was played in August. Different turf conditions. This very similar to what they are accustomed to in the month of May for the regular tour event. Although the rough is going to be deeper, it's going to be denser. They made grass changes on the greens a couple of years ago. Give me some guys. We know it's Rory's joint. We know that he's been great there. Who are some other guys who have great records at Quail Hollow?
All right, I have to start first with a cartoonish Rory stat. All right,
okay.
So PGA Tour events all time at Quail Hollow Club. Rory McIlroy is 102 under par in his career. Second best in that span is Ricky Fowler, a mere 55 shots behind. That's how much of Rory's joint it is. It's really just, he's absolutely dominated the place, obviously. His first PGA Tour win all the way back in 2010 when he had the floppy curls and was bouncing around out there to what he's done throughout his career. So I think that Quail Hollow gets tagged because Rory's been so successful there as kind of a power prejudice golf course. But when you look at the PGA Championship since 2014, that's as long as we have complete shot link data at the PGA, top 10 finishers at Quail Hollow in 2017 got about 20% of their strokes on shots off the tee. That's actually less than the average for the other PGA championships in that span, 23%. So maybe it's not as power skewed. I think it's a perspective thing more than anything. It's got a nickname like Green Mile for the last stretch of holes. And we've got guys who've hit it a long way, have highlighted some success, but there have been some guys who don't necessarily hit it as far who have had success at this tournament. You mentioned the name in your first segment, a guy you said is not going to be on the Ryder Cup team. But a guy who contended at the Masters, and I think he has had great success at Quail Hollow is Patrick Reed. Finished T2 at the 2017 PGA. I know it's a different time of the year, but he's got great course success here. A couple other top 10 finishes in his last couple starts at Quail while on the tour. He's 12th all time in scoring average at Quail Hollow, 10th in bogey avoidance, and great major form, obviously, already this year at the Masters. And I want to go if you go a little further off the board, you look at a guy in 16 career rounds at Quail Hollow. Keith Mitchell has a scoring average of 70.2. That's third best among all players at Quail Hollow in that span. TA finished in 2019, tied for third in 2021. A strong history there at Quail Hollow. I think he could give you some good value if you're filling out a daily fantasy team or placing a wager or two down the board a little bit. He might be somebody you could consider. All
right, last thing for now. All this has been great. The Tiger Jack thing. We look at these numbers and a lot. I remember the great thing that Izzy D. Herrera did in the doc, the Jack doc, is handing that one sheeter to all these players, and they're going, "Wait, what?" Give me a couple of each of theirs that you particularly love. Just a couple nuggets about Jack and Tiger historically.
So last offseason, I finished up a big project that I've worked on for years and years, and it was a database of every major championship round ever in the men's game, and I was able to get strokes gained total, differential versus the field for every round ever. So Jack Nicklaus in the majors beat the field scoring average in majors by at least 5 strokes 118 times. 118. Second most in history is Tom Watson with 67. Jack had 51 more than any other player. Just absolutely ridiculous. And probably my favorite is, it's kind of simple, but in the 1970s, Jack won 8 majors, and in the majors finished outside the top 10 5 times. So those are probably my 2 favorite Jack Nicklaus numbers. When you talk about untouchable Tiger data points, the great Mark Brody came up with something about a decade ago where Tiger beat the field scoring average in 89 consecutive rounds, and it's about 50 rounds longer than the second longest run over the last 40-something years. To put it in perspective, Scotty doesn't have a run longer than like the mid-20s over the last several seasons, and Tiger did it 89 times in a row. And I really think that Tiger's closing rate is never going to be approached by anybody else in this sport. 44 for 46 with the outright 54-hole lead. I don't know if I can properly put into context how obscene that is when the PGA Tour rate is regularly, when you have an outright lead, not tied, with that outright lead is about 40%. Tiger did it 96% of the time. It's just absolutely staggering. And in some ways, Tiger Woods, in ways like that, he can be still a little bit underrated.
Yep, I agree with you on that. You're one of one, my man. Thank you. I look forward to doing this again. It's great to catch up with you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there is Justin Ray. I'm telling you, there's nobody like him, as you just heard for the last 12 minutes. All right, we're going to take a break. The president of the PGA of America, Don Ray, joins me next. Welcome back into 5 Clubs on this Wednesday. It is great to have you with us. This segment is brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to grips, they are trusted by more players at every level around the world. It is Golf Pride. Joining me now, it's great to see his face. It's that time of the year because championships, they come in all shapes and sizes. And this week, it's about PGA Works, their collegiate championship. Of course, next week is the PGA Championship right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Number 44 himself, he's the president of the PGA of America, Don Ray. Don, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, and you're right. I just came from the PGA Professional Championship on my way to the PGA Championship, but I'm here at Kohler at the PGA Works Collegiate Championship. It's going to be awesome.
It is. I must ask, all of us are sports fans to varying degrees. When I think of 44, there's a lot of great athletes. Is there a 44 for you? Because that's who you are. That's what you'll always be, the 44th president. Is there a 44 athlete that you always think of immediately?
Oh, man. Maybe John Riggins. Was he 44?
Oh, heck yes, Riggo.
Dude, I love Riggo. So, I got to go John Riggins. I mean, I was just in Syracuse, though, and that number's wholly up there. And they gave me a jersey, and that was really cool. But yeah, I still got to go John Riggins because of my dad. He loved the Redskins.
Yeah, that Riggo, though, that's a very good pull by you. Let's talk about this tournament. You see it on Golf Channel, and certainly PGA Works and all that encompasses is doing a lot. But specifically, what can this collegiate Championship. It's such an iconic venue where major championships and obviously Ryder Cups are contested. What can this do for the game of golf?
Well, I think it's perfect. Everybody wants to talk about what the money is, and we want to talk about what the money does, right? And the PGA Works Collegiate Championship is something the PGA of America is very, very excited about. And, we love doing it every year. It's probably, I know it is, the most culturally significant golf tournament on the college tour, but I would say around the world. I mean, right now we've got 180 athletes here, 27 teams, right? 45 individual athletes playing in an iconic venue. And it really just shows exactly what we do every day, the PGA of America, is just try to grow the game.
Don, you need great support by people, obviously sponsorship. How can Kohler, through PGA Works, how can it change the game?
Oh, David and Nina have been amazing, right? I mean, we just signed a 6-year deal with them, not just for the PGA Works Collegiate Championship, but for Beyond the Green, when we engage the kids of a local community around our major championships. And that certainly we're coming back here in 2029. So, whether it's PGA Works, the scholarships, the PGA Works Collegiate Championship, all the things we do with our fellow, it takes great partners. And the Kohler family, David and Nina, have been amazing, not only of this facility, which is great, but their time and their resources. And we're excited to have them on board with our PGA Reach Foundation and see where this can take us, because every year it just seems to get bigger and better.
Don, your responsibility, 31,000 men and women who drive the game forward in a positive fashion. That's what they're trying to do every single day. You guys pay particular close attention to the demographics, who's playing, who's entering the game. I think we've embarked on something over the last decade of looking at entry points in a more pragmatic way. And I think by virtue of that, we've seen an infusion of youth and younger people finding their way into the game. Do you think that is helping the entry points with less intimidation? The idea that, oh gosh, don't do that, don't do that. No, there are other ways for you to get a taste of golf that may indoctrinate you and keep you for a while. Are we seeing those things happen?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not about swing, stance, and score anymore, right? It's about who you're with and if you're having fun out there while you're playing. I mean, hey, at Augusta Ranch Golf Club, my facility, I got 21 top tracer bays. Gary, if you came out there and you saw the people that are coming to these bays, it's not the guy grinding on his 8-iron. It is families playing together, because this is when golfers, right, this 10% of the population, can invite a non-golfer to something that's fun. And just swing your club a couple times and then have a seat and wait for everybody else to play. But it is, too, 28.1 million golfers. That's amazing. 25% of those are people of color now. That's amazing. And know this, Gary, and I know you do. There are more people playing off the course than on the course. So no doubt the funnels are hot. We just got to get them down to the green grass.
This collegiate event is, you look at steps for players, but we're also seeing really sophisticated development at the junior level. I'm lucky enough to be involved with the underrated golf tour that Steph Curry has poured his heart and soul into. Nota Begay, similarly, with respect to what he's doing, access, inclusion, entry points for kids who have ability to play in the championship that you're hosting right now. How important are those grassroots initiatives and things at an even lower level to create even more momentum when they get to the collegiate level?
Yeah, thanks for what you're doing with the underrated tour. There's 12 athletes out here playing that came from that tour. So what you're doing is working. Thank you very much for that. PGA Junior League, obviously 77,000 kids played in that, boys and girls playing together, numbers on their back, and all the communities. We have PGA Junior League Opportunity Leagues, where we take it to underserved areas and we pay for the entire league so every kid can play golf. And as you know, a two-person scramble takes away all the pressure, because if you miss the putt, your partner can bury it still. And I completely agree with what you're saying is the funnels are all over the place. Screen golf, top tracer, and then the underrated tours, PGA Junior League, all of those things are opening the door. And I think that's why you're seeing those numbers rise incredibly, is because finally, how they say, if you can see it, you can be it. And finally, I think that's what's happening is these kids from underserved areas are like, wow, if he could do it, if she can do it, then I could do it. And that's what excites us is the 31,000. It's just watching this game. It's such the cure for so many things. It's the antidote for a lot of things, Gary. And people are finally taking it and going, hey, I like it.
No, it's true. You mentioned, you were at your PGA Professional Championship, and obviously those 20 individuals are going to be in Charlotte next week. You'll go from Kohler to coming here to the Queen City. As you, the president of the PGA of America, when you look at the enormity of major championship golf, and it's such an important, obviously, platform and stage. The game in the men's elite level is still fractured to some degree. Do you feel like these 4 weeks, yours is next, have become even more precious to the golf fan, to the sports fan, the person who really carves out time to watch these championships?
Well, absolutely. As the professional game has seen some of that disruption, the recreational game is it's on fire, right? And those pros, our pros that are on the front lines, that 20 that are going to play in the PGA Championship, the Corebridge Financial 20, they're exciting. But you're exactly right. We want to make sure, the PGA of America, that we have the strongest majors. We aspire to do that. So we don't care where you play on this globe. If you're one of the top 100 players, we want you to play in our championship. And so then when you see Xander and Bryson going at it last year, I think that's what happens. And you're right. I think the majors were always important, but now they're even more important because it is the only opportunity to play with everybody on the globe. And who's the best? That's what Kerry Haig does, right? He sets up a facility, or a course, not to embarrass anybody, but to identify the best players in the game. So I can't wait for next week. It's going to be off the hook. I mean, the build out there at Quail Hollow is it took an iconic course and made it epic. It's going to be amazing.
Don, I'm telling you, being out there over the last week, I know whether it's Ryder Cup venues, PGA Championship venues, it really is like building a city. The enormity of this footprint and what a stage it's going to be for all these players. I'm excited for you to get to Charlotte. Looking forward to seeing you next week. But most importantly, enjoy what is a very important collegiate event that you guys and Kohler are putting your heart and souls into this week right now. Looking forward to the coverage, obviously, as well, continuing on Golf Channel. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Everything you do, Gary, is amazing. I look forward to seeing you next week. And thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk about the PGA Works Collegiate Championship. We're so proud of it.
Absolutely. There he is, Don Ray. Number 44, some people can call him Riggo. Yes, the John Riggins notation there. Looking forward to having him here next week. We take a break on this Wednesday and continue on 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel and also on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. That is Channel 92. We're back right after this. It's time for those dogs. Send in your dog. If you've got one that gets out on the golf course, we want it. It's dogs@fiveclubsgolf.com. So who are our featured dogs this week? Let's take a look. We start with Ozo. Now this is out at Goat Hill Park in Oceanside, California. Sidney Ruiz is the owner. This is a great dog-friendly golf course. A lot of people know of Goat Hill. It's got a great following. Next, Keith Clausen. This is the head professional at East Hampton Golf Club in Long Island. That is Hogan, named after Ben himself. That is a pit bull retriever mix that they got from a shelter. How about Simba and Cosmo? Simba on the left, Cosmo on the right. 2 Great Danes. That's the 16th hole at Reynolds Lake, Oconee, down in Georgia. Chuck Sheehan, the owner. How majestic is that? Chance from Northport Creek Golf Course in Northport, Michigan. Chris McCann is the director of golf and grounds. 2 wonderful photos of Chance, that black lab. If you've got a dog and it's around the game of golf, we want to feature that dog. Send them in, dogs@fiveclubsgolf.com. All right, it is the Truist Championship at Philly Cricket Club. This is a one-off. They'll come back to Truist Championship next year to Quail Hollow. Of course, PGA Championship next week is at Quail. Before we give you our picks, let's take a look at the standings. Must note a few things. The streak ends for Johnson Wagner. He had picked 3 straight winners. It ends last week. Gil Hanse gets a win with Scotty Scheffler. Guess what? He's out of Schefflers. He's picked him 5 times already. That is the rule. He can't pick him again the rest of the year. Taylor had Siwoo Kim, picked up some money. Siwoo had a good weekend. Emma Carpenter, she sits in 4th. And then the dregs. I'm going to get relegated. Me, Billis, DeYoung. Awful. Have been awful. So with that, let's take a look. Who do we think is going to have a good week at Philly Cricket? Colin Morikawa, point-to-point. Driver is not going to be maybe necessarily the biggest weapon this week. Gil Hanse goes with Justin Rose, who won an event in Philadelphia, of course, at U.S. Open. Emma Carpenter with Tommy Fleetwood. Taylor has picked Russell Henley, I think, like half of the events this year. Is he over budget yet? Johnson and Gill take Xander Schauffele. I feel bad for Johnson because Jay's been terrible. And, of course, Brendan and Young, they're picking Patrick Cantlay. Couple things. Next Monday, we got a big 2-hour show to kick off PGA Championship week. Gabby Herzig in studio, Taylor Zarzour in studio, Jim Nance, Colt Knowles, Jaime Diaz, Mark Brooks, all going to be here in Charlotte, North Carolina. In our PGA Championship preview show with me, Taylor, Johnson, and Brendan will drop today a 90-minute preview of the 107th PGA Championship. We hope you'll enjoy that on our YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your week. Monday from here, 2 hours at 8 a.m. It's PGA Championship week. We'll see you then.